All right, so today we're talking about the states of matter. We've talked about this before, so I'm going to go through it kind of quickly, give you guys an assignment, and go from there. Plus, it's not really that long. Unlike before, I am not sure where I got this PowerPoint from. So I can't give credit to whoever created it. Sorry. Here we go. So there are four states of matter. However, they're only going to test you, or at least on all the practice tests that we've seen, they only tested on the first three: the solid, the liquid, and the gas. However, plasma is a state, but we kind of stop at gas. Um, Remember when we talk matter, matter is based on particle arrangement, the energy of the particle, and the distance between the particles. Now, that's the three areas they're going to look at when they're testing you on these different things related to matter. According to the kinetic theory of matter, matter is made up of particles, continual random motion. So that's another thing to think about when you're thinking about matter. The movements, again, stressing that part of the particles. So we have the first state, which is solids. Of course, we know what solids are. Anything that is a chair or a desk or a cup. Those are all solids. And what solids, the important thing to look at or to remember is that they're going to be, the particles are packed tightly. And so they're in a fixed position. They have a definite shape, definite volume. So when we're looking at it and they're testing you, think about what they're talking about. Your particles being tightly together in a certain position. That's what makes it a solid. All right. The next one, of course, is going to be your liquids. And when we talk liquids, the particles are still tight, but they're far enough apart. You notice that? So that they slide over one another. So that's the thing we think about when we think about liquids. They are not going to have a shape, but they will have a volume based on whatever container you place it in. So it'll have a certain amount of liquids in it, but it will not have a shape. It takes the shape of whatever you're pouring your liquid into. And the last one that you guys will probably have on the test will be the gas. Gas, of course, the particles are so far apart that they rarely bump into each other. They move so far apart from each other. They do not have a shape, do not have a volume when we're talking about gases. Now, another thing that you guys are going to have on the test is changing from one phase to another phase. If we want to go from a solid to a liquid, what do we call that? We call it melting. What happens in terms of heat? That is so important. Make sure you're familiar with that because that's how they're questioning on the test. Heat goes into to make a solid. When we go from liquids to solids, we go to freezing. That's what we're talking about. Heat is leaving in order for a liquid to freeze. So you guys kind of have to make sure you're familiar. Okay, what is the heat doing to cause these different states or these different changes in the states of matter? Another one, if we're going from a liquid to a gas, which is vaporization, boiling, evaporation, we're saying that the heat is going into the liquid. That's how these things are occurring. A gas to a liquid, condensation, heat leaves in order for this to occur. And the last one, a solid to a gas, which can happen, sublimation. And what we're saying is that the heat goes into the solid. Now, the best example of that one, because I know you guys know all of the others, we can think of water and we can pretty much, but the best example of this one is dry ice. You know, dry ice is solid, but once it goes into that machine and that heat comes in, it actually becomes a gas. It becomes a fog. So that's the best example of that. So it does happen. So again, make sure you're familiar with the states of matter, just the first three: solid, liquids, and gas. Make sure you're familiar with how they change, what's going on in terms of heat, and you should be good to go. All right, thanks guys. I'll have the lesson posted.